Today is Thursday, January 8th, 2026. Let's study English by reading an article of my choice, right? Not your choice, but my choice. I just read this article about college costs around the world, so I'm going to throw it away. And let's learn why Trump wants Greenland. This article is from the Washington Post today, and the title is Why Trump Wants Greenland and What's Standing in Its Way. In his way, Denmark's leader warned that any use of force by Washington to seize Greenland, as Trump officials have suggested, would render the post-war NATO alliance defunct. Updated yesterday at 9:46 a.m. EST, Eastern Standard Time. 7-minute read. It will be like a 20-minute read for me. The White House calls acquiring Greenland a national security priority. Google Lima Menian Brand Readers by Leo Sands and Jennifer Hassan. As President Donald Trump renews his push to acquire the Danish autonomous territory of Greenland, the White House has described using military force as an option, a stunning threat against a NATO ally that would undermine the decades-old defense pact. The remarks by Trump and his top aides have spread alarm across European capitals, prompting some of their most forceful responses to date and a warning by Denmark that military intervention would effectively end the NATO alliance. It comes days after the United States used its military to seize Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Yeah, so for example, the U.S. can take the Okinawa from Japan, or Jeju Island from Korea, or Taiwan from China, right? Maybe some islands of the Philippines, and several pockets of land in Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, Nepal, right? Small country, Bhutan, yeah, and it also can siege several pockets of lands, enclaves, making them all enclaves on the South Latin America, right? Secretary of State Marco Rubio told lawmakers in a closed-door briefing Monday that the escalation in rhetoric was part of a wider strategy to ramp up pressure on Denmark to sell the territory. One official familiar with the briefing said, "Why is Greenland so appealing for Trump? Rich in untapped natural resources, sparsely populated, and strategically located in the Arctic, Greenland has been a recurring fixation of Trump's since his first term in office, when he floated the possibility that the United U.S. purchase the island from Denmark, of which it is an autonomous territory. Denmark flatly rejected the prospect." So there must be a lot of good natural resources like gold, diamond, silver, iron, and also, of course, the black money, oil. Baffin Bay, critical raw material deposits, very large, small. Arctic Circle, Nuuk, Pamute, Kakortok, right? Tasilikak. Interesting names. They are all Greenland name. About 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, I had a dream, and in the dream, Donald Trump welcomed me at the White House and asked me to help with one of his problems. So I bought a lottery ticket right after the next day, but of course I didn't win the lottery prize. But somehow I felt that we would meet with each other somehow. Of course, it didn't materialize, but I think Trump will contact me sooner or later. I am delusioned, right? I'm a lunatic, but somehow he will contact me and ask for my opinion. And in return, I would request for position inside his administration, maybe physical remuneration, maybe a permanent residency. I don't know. I'm lunatic, right? Illusioned. The island has deposits of diamonds, graphite, lithium, copper, nickel, and gallium. It also has oil and rare earth minerals such as neodymium, and dysprosium, of which China, and Russia are the top global producers according to the Royal Society of Chemistry. Rare earth minerals can be used in smartphones, powerful magnets, and defense technologies. The island, which is technically part of the North American continent, is strategically situated along the Gilk Gap, named for the initials of Greenland, Iceland, and the United Kingdom, Gilk. Where NATO monitors Russian naval movements in the North Atlantic. Over the weekend, Trump complained that the island was covered with Russian and Chinese ships. In response, European officials said while Moscow and Beijing have increased their activity in the region, most of that is elsewhere in the Arctic, with no current spike in activity near Greenland. President Donald Trump asserted that the U.S. is in charge of Venezuela, threatened the president of Colombia, and repeated his desire to take over Greenland. Video Naomi Shane. Okay, let's hear him out. Let's find out what he has to say, right? Hey, Trump, go on.
Don't ask me who's in charge because I'll give you an answer and it'll be very controversial.
What does that mean?
It means we're in charge. We have to do one thing in Venezuela, bring it back. It's a dead country right now. We were prepared to do a second strike if we needed. We're totally prepared.
But that's off the
We're
table.
still prepared.
That's off the table now.
No, it's not. If they don't behave, we will do a second strike. Colombia is very sick too, run by a sick man who likes making cocaine and selling it to the United States. And he's not going to be doing it very long, let me tell you.
What does that mean? He's not going to be doing it very long.
He's not doing it very long. He has cocaine mills and cocaine factories. He's not going to be doing it very
So there
long.
will be an operation by the U.S.
It sounds good to me.
Are you considering U.S. action in Cuba?
I think it's just going to fall. I don't think we need any action. It looks like it's going down. They got all of their income from Venezuela, from the Venezuelan oil. You have a lot of great Cuban Americans that are going to be very happy about this. I would say every single time I talk to her, I offer to send troops. She's concerned. She's a little afraid. The cartels are running Mexico. Whether you like it or not, it's not nice to say, but the cartels are running Mexico. We need Greenland from a national security situation. It's so strategic. Right now, Greenland is covered with Russian and Chinese ships all over the place, and the European Union needs us to have it.
Oh, okay. The United States already has a military base on the island Pituffik Space Base, which was erected in the early years of the Cold War in a strategic location for missile defense and space surveillance missions, according to the U.S. Space Force. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said in a statement on Tuesday that acquiring Greenland is a national security priority of the United States that would serve as a vital deterrent to Washington's adversaries in the Arctic region. Of course, utilizing the U.S. military is always an option at the commander-in-chief's disposal, she said. While Rubio has told lawmakers the recent rhetoric is a move to pressure Denmark into selling Greenland, Marian Messmer, director of the International Security Program at the London-based think tank Chatham House, said it was still extremely concerning that military action had been threatened and not ruled out by White House officials. European leaders had no choice but to take Trump's preoccupation with Greenland seriously, as the stakes are too high to ignore, she said. Right? The stakes are too high to ignore. The stakes are too high to ignore. How has Denmark responded? Greenland has been part of Denmark for over 300 years, initially as a colony and then from 1979 as an autonomous territory. In 2008, the island approved the Self-Government Act, allowing for greater home rule, but responsibility for its defense and foreign policy remains with Denmark, just like a federation, right? Just like the U.S. or the Soviet Union, or what Mr. Kim Dae-jung proposed to reunite South and North Korea, right? A federation. Yeah, I like it. No problem. Trump's aspirations to protest Greenland strained relations with Denmark during his first term. When he returned to office last year, the issue arose again. Danish officials reiterated that Greenland was not for sale, but also committed to working with Washington on bolstering the U.S. security presence on the island and potentially increasing U.S. investments in mining. Danish leaders also said they increased spending on Arctic security by $13.7 billion last year. On Sunday, a day after the U.S. military's operation in Venezuela, Trump told reporters, "Let's talk about Greenland in 20 days." Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen has since responded directly to the suggestion the U.S. could use force to seize the island. If the United States chooses to attack another NATO country militarily, everything will stop, including NATO, and thus the security that has been provided since the end of World War II. Fredriksen told a Danish television outlet. I think, Frederick, please call me. I would help you out with this issue. I can talk to Trump, right? We met in my dream. So that, and he also asked for my help, my idea in this kind of nagging situation, right? Without me, it's just everything else is a perfect recipe for disaster. So just contact me, and I would be happy to fly to Denmark, Copenhagen. I've been there once in 2000, I think 16, 17. So I know the area, Copenhagen, a little bit. So no problem. I can just show up at your desk, and we can sit down and have a nice Danish beer with a chocolate and some cookies from the famous street downtown, right? And I'll give you solutions. Lars Christian Brask, Deputy Speaker of the Danish Parliament, said that Denmark was taking Trump's comments seriously while reiterating that the US and Denmark were long-term partners and allies. One NATO country doesn't go and require territory of another NATO country, Brask said in an interview with Bloomberg News on Wednesday. It's unheard of and it's disrespectful. Yes, it is, but you have a shit on your hand, Trump, right? You need to take, if the stake is too high to ignore, so you also need my help. Mesmer said that the U.S. attack on Greenland would end the alliance in its current form, as one alliance member would be attacking another, an unprecedented move. Several European leaders also offered their support to Denmark, issuing a joint statement Tuesday that said the inviolability of borders is a universal principle and that Greenland belongs to its people. It is for Denmark and Greenland and them only to decide on matters concerning Denmark and Greenland. The statement was also backed by Canada. Ulrik Premgaard, a senior researcher at the Danish Institute for International Studies, said in an interview Wednesday that many Danish people feel a sense of betrayal stemming from Trump's rhetoric, given Denmark's support for the U.S. in the Middle East and in Afghanistan, where Denmark lost at least 43 soldiers in combat. We were loyal allies to the U.S., Gadd said. Yeah, sense of betrayal stemming from Trump's rhetoric, given Denmark's support for the U.S. in the Middle East and in Afghanistan, where Denmark lost at least 43 soldiers in combat. Sometimes I imagine that I just saved the lives of the 43 and have them work in my farm in Korea for maybe 3 years, and they just go back home, right? Because I saved their lives, they should work very hard in my farm in Korea. That's my imagination. It will show up in my next novel. We were loyal allies to the U.S., Gadd said. Does Europe have any leverage over the U.S.? Both Mesmer and Gadd noted that European leaders have more options for pushing back on Trump's plans. That's good, pushing back on Trump's plans, although they would face practical challenges. European countries could review their support for U.S. military bases and possibly take steps to reduce access or to increase costs. That would disrupt the U.S. playbook, Messmer said, noting that Britain in particular had been a U.S. staging ground for operations in the Mediterranean and the Middle East for a long time. However, she also noted that the U.S. currently provides several core functions to NATO, pushing back on Trump's plans. Get added that while in theory European nations could use trade or taxation policies to apply pressure to the U.S., in practice such a move could mean NATO disintegrating. What do Greenlanders think about Trump's aspirations? Two surveys conducted by Greenlandic and Danish newspapers last year found that an overwhelming majority of Greenlanders were opposed to annexation or becoming part of the United States, although the Danish poll also found that a majority of respondents supported independence from Denmark. The island has a population of about 57,000, about 90% of whom are of Inuit descent. Hey, Denmark and Greenland, one solution, I have several solutions. I have several ideas, right, to protect your sovereignty, to prevent any annexation or attack from the United States. Just contact me, right? I met Trump in my dream, so I can handle the issue. As an autonomous territory, Greenland has the right to declare independence, and Gatt said that Denmark did not have sovereignty over the island or the power to sell it. You might speculate that Greenlanders could, under international law, sell themselves to another country. But the likelihood of that happening is totally impossible, he said. In interviews with the Washington Post last month, most people were adamant that their homeland wasn't for sale. That's good expression, this one. Most people were adamant that their homeland wasn't for sale. Yeah, like President Donald Trump was adamant in attacking Venezuela. The territory's leadership has said it welcomes investment from foreign countries, but is not seeking new overseers. In a news conference this year, Greenland Prime Minister Jens Frederik Nielsen urged his fellow islanders to stay calm and united. We are not in a situation where we think that there might be a takeover of the country overnight, and that is why we are insisting that we want good operation. He said, according to the Associated Press, the situation is not such that the United States can simply conquer Greenland. Yeah, terrible news coming from Greenland. That's terrible news. They must be scared. Map by Larry Skarklis. Correction. A previous version of this article incorrectly stated the dates of Greenland's transition to autonomy and of the approval of its Self-Government Act. The island became autonomous in 1979, not 1953, and approved the Self-Government Act in 2008, not 2009. What readers are saying? Comments overwhelmingly criticize President Trump's interest in acquiring Greenland, viewing it as reckless and imperialistic. Many express concern that such actions could damage U.S.-Denmark relations, undermine NATO, and destabilize international alliances. Yep, right after we got independence from Japanese colonial years in 1945, there was many Koreans who wanted to be part of the United States. They wanted the US to annex Korea so that we could be permanently protected from China, Russia, Japan, or any other foreign superpowers. So, but looking back, probably we were better off when we were annexed by the States, just like Hong Kong was part of China, and Shanghai, right? But in hindsight, I think probably we lost our own beautiful language called Hangul, which is quite very good, and our customs and festivals and everything, right? Probably our children are mixed with white and yellow, right? And terrible, right? So we are doing okay. Probably there wasn't Samsung, Hyundai cars, right? The innovation was lagging, and probably constant conflict with China. So it's a good thing that we were not part of the States, United States. Probably it goes the same with Greenland. But both sides, you need to contact me. Trump asked for help with his problem in my dream, so I'm willing to extend my help. I have several ideas to handle the matters and settle the issues. The answer is U.S. not taking Greenland, but I'll just give both sides a gracious retreat, right? And Korea would be happy. Everybody would be happy in the final results. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. But before I go, let's go over what I marked to remember. Most people were adamant that their homeland wasn't for sale, pushing back on Trump's plans. The stakes are too high to ignore. Pushing back on Trump's plans, most people were adamant that their homeland wasn't for sale. Thanks for listening. Have a great Thursday.